Support for this show comes from Smartsheet. The best teams don't just work, they flow. And Smartsheet is the work management platform where work flows. Smartsheet transforms how teams operate, allowing them to automate teamwork, collaborate, and stay on track. Whether your team is managing multiple projects or rapidly scaling, Smartsheet has the tools to cut through the chaos and get work done. Smartsheet, where work flows. Learn more at smartsheet.com/Vox. Support for Served comes from Intuit. Reaching the right small businesses starts with the right data. Intuit SMB Media Labs is a first-of-its-kind small business ad network. With access to audiences and insights from the makers of QuickBooks, you can target key decision makers by industry, size, maturity, location, and more. It's your gateway to B2 SMB marketing success. Learn more at medialabs.intuit.com. All right. How are we? Good. I like that. I'm Andy Roddick. This is a tennis podcast, so I know that's not probably normal for South by Southwest. I was number one in the world for a cup of coffee. We do a super nerdy tennis show. I'm excited to be here. Austin is my hometown. I lived here for over 30 years. We now live in Charlotte because my wife made me. But I'm super excited to do this show, and automatically my mind kind of goes to, well, can we do a tennis show with like an audience that's maybe tennis people, maybe not. I think most of you are probably here to see our guest. But I kind of viewed it as an excuse to maybe use the Vox and the South by Southwest of things to selfishly just get someone on the show that you wouldn't necessarily consider tennis-centric. This is purely self-serving for me, no pun intended. But I couldn't be more excited. For our guest today, I am a massive fan of hers. I have been nervous all day, and in the spirit of our guest, I'm going to tell you what I'm nervous about and how I am vulnerable. I am scared of her. Because she is so smart, she is so bright, and she is so accomplished, and I feel like she can see right through me when we're talking. By way of intro, I'm sure most of us have seen The Power of Vulnerability. It's one of the most watched TED Talks of all time that she did in 2010, which really kind of set her on a mainstream course for stardom. Netflix special, A Call to Courage. Anyone seen that? Yeah. 6 number one New York Times bestsellers, including my favorite, Atlas of the Heart, which has been turned into an HBO Max series. Podcast, Unlocking Us, Dare to Lead. Co-owner of the Austin Pickleballers, which is just, I guess no one's perfect. I Googled I Googled what degrees does Brene Brown have, and Google said all of them. So without further ado, please welcome Brene Brown to this South by stage. Welcome. Thank you for being on our little tennis show, which
let's go.
May not be as tennis-y. You're one of the picklers. You're one of the pickleballers.
I am. I mean, I played tennis for 30 years.
Yeah.
So, but I am a big pickleball player. I play 5 days a week.
You were talking to you. I mean, yeah. But really intense. You said I don't give up days away from pickleball. Like I don't.
I hate it when work interferes with my pickle. I mean, yeah.
And you own a franchise.
We owned one. I will tell you that when Major League Pickleball started, we owned one of the first teams for a very short period of time. Then it got really serious, and then like famous people started buying teams, and then big money came.
So are you saying you're mad that famous people bought pickleball teams?
like really famous, like big, like really, like I'm not a famous person, like, but like really famous athletes, and then big money came in, and then it got like really brotastic, and then I got out fast. But I'm still a big fan of pickleball. Yeah, I'll stop there.
I want your take on something, and we touched on it quickly on the elevator ride up here, but I've gotten in trouble talking about pickleball before, because basically I say that you can't expect me to like pickleball as much as something that I've done and loved my entire life.
Fair.
Okay, great. The other thing that in Andre Agassi, like he's prone to do, always is able to kind of encapsulate big themes and anecdotes, right? And so he seems to think the difference between pickle and tennis, which he's a huge pickleball guy now. He, like you, 5 days a week, loves it. I played him in Mandalay Bay on TV, and he absolutely,
I watched it.
He beat the shit out of me. I'm telling you, it was rough. But his take is that if you have a great tennis game on a Thursday night, right? You have your buddies, you have your teams, you will skip that. You will skip that game if Carlos Alcaraz or Venus Williams or Serena or Roger is playing 2 hours up the road. You will pack up and you will go watch it. And in pickle, there is no way in hell you are leaving that Thursday night game to go watch it. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I want to play.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about the pickle tennis thing, because in research we have this term called, by the way, I do not smoke 7 packs of cigarettes a day. For those of y'all old enough, I sound like Suzanne Plachette. But I'm just getting over something that everybody's getting over. We have a term in research called the ecological fallacy. And when you do a study and you can't figure out why it's not working, like the research is not working, you go back and make sure that the units of analysis that you're comparing are the same. I think comparing tennis and pickleball is rooted in something that's really hard and true, which is real estate and space. But they're not the same game. Pickleball is not a miniature version of tennis. They're different games for different people for different reasons. And I think what's interesting is when I think about the attacks on pickleball.
The attacks.
Oh yeah, I mean, tennis players, like, let me tell you something, like both are intense, tennis players and pickleball players. Hey, street fight comes, I'm going with the pickleball players.
Stop it.
Yeah, no. You got,
It's like someone's drunk uncle.
Right. Right. Yeah. Their drunk uncle and his friends who are all armed and just as soon shoot you for $5.
Pickleballers roll that hard? I didn't realize there was like.
We are.
I didn't realize pickleballers were like a national security concern. This is like a.
We're not in Fila, and just like like I wear like cargo shorts and I wear a trucker hat, so we have that in common. But when I think about it, this is what I think about the attack on pickleball.
The attack on pickleball?
Yeah, no, I do. I think unfunny, unkind, and the fear of being uncool. So if you're still making fun of pickleball, like, that's a sad 2021 joke. You need to get new material. Number 2, yes, Ethel, who's 75, and who has a suction cup on her paddle so she doesn't have to bend down, and has double knee braces, may kick your ass. But let me tell you about a moment with Ethel.
Can I interject for 1 second? I just can't pass this up. Real talk, Ethel is the name of our cat. True, producer Mike? Yes.
Okay, I love it.
Yeah.
So Ethel.
Yeah.
You're playing with Ethel. She's got the suction cup racket, so she hadn't been down. She's got knee braces on. She's got a top spin forehand that's going to go, you're going to return it into the net every time. But in a moment when you return it back and then she body bags you, you're going to look at her, and now she's Ethel, and it's the 70s, and she's the number 1 seeded player playing tennis at UCLA. And she never thought in a moment that she would be able to be competitive again, fight to win again, be out on a court again. And so if you don't like that, fuck you. It's like, and there's an accessibility issue. I play in Houston a lot, and here, it's as diverse. There are Black folks, Latino folks, Asian folks. They've got a special court for disabled folks. The barrier to access is so low. If you have chalk and 2 paddles and a ball that costs $20, the fight is about clubs where pickleball players want to take over tennis courts.
Yes.
And it's loud and obnoxious AF. It's loud. And if you build 12 courts next to my house, I'm gonna go find my Fila friends and we're gonna protest. But there are 2 different games, and I'll tell you about the other thing about tennis. I have a lot of tennis friends who we love to watch tennis. You don't have to be a tennis player to love tennis. You watch tennis for 3 minutes and you understand the athleticism. It's balletic. It is beautiful. Watching pickleball, this is why we don't leave our game on Thursday night to drive 2 hours. First of all, to appreciate it, you really have to play it. Otherwise, you're like, okay, someone hit a hard shot, they hit a soft shot back, and now they're standing still in, we call it the kitchen, this close to the net, for 20 freaking minutes. You have to play it to understand it. And so, I don't know, they're different games for different reasons. It's not many. It's like I'm an Episcopalian, and when people say, "Oh, like Catholic light," no, dude, like Catholic, completely different. No, it's not tennis light. It's a different game. Both should exist. Why don't we just join forces and take down paddle?
Ooh, padel, it's coming though. Padel's coming, and it's fun to watch.
It's so fun to watch.
Have you played it? I haven't played it. I kind of want to.
I mean, I'm
heavily paddle curious.
I'm very, I was terrible. I realized that, do y'all know what paddle is? Like you can play off the walls and stuff. I am 3-dimension limited. Like when shit's coming off the balls.
Not the one.
I'm not doing, that feels like an injury. That feels like a, don't hit the moneymaker.
It's funny as you're walking through this, because I get in trouble when I say stuff and then Andre says it, but he loves pickleball and I just don't really play. And when he says the same thing, it's fine. And when it's not. But I think the part where I have it written down and you're kind of beating me to the punches here, comparison is impossible. Like I can't be expected to watch pickle on TV and look at it like it's Wimbledon. I just can't do it. And that's because
it's not Wimbledon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But from a participation standpoint, it's way more inviting. It's less intimidating. Listen, we wouldn't be putting pickleball courts in if the tennis courts were full and paid for, simply, right? There has to be space.
That's exactly right.
For it to operate. So I can't sit here and defend people who just really like tennis and they're mad that courts are being taken out of Central Park. I'm like, if those courts were being used and if they were profitable, then pickleball wouldn't be invading. It's not invading space. It's invading a free space that is up for the taking. So on a participatory level, I love pickle. I think it's brought a ton of joy to a ton of people. It's not for me yet. I enjoy it. I don't, I choose tennis when I get to play still, but I didn't for a while. And I think one of the things, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, is there are the nuances in pickleball, right? You have to know it to watch it. And I think it's the only professional sport that the better you get, the more it slows down, which is a weird thing. If you're looking at basketball at the highest level, it speeds up. If you're looking at tennis, it speeds up. If you're looking at football, you watch a college game, then you watch a pro game, it speeds up. Yeah. I think pickle is the only one that as you get better, the pace as you're watching it actually gets slower, which is like a strange thing to kind of wrap your head around.
I think that's true. I think it's interesting. I wonder if it is, I had a tennis coach in high school that was all about flight of ball, and which reminds me of like billiards almost. It's like, angle, speed. What is it? Angle, speed, and something else.
It's got to be spin, right?
Spin.
Yeah.
Angle, speed, and spin. The flight of ball is so weird in pickleball because it's a wiffle ball, you know? And so I do think when it gets slow, you're playing complicated shots. Like pickleball is all about the kill shot. It's kill or be killed. It's you're not going to wear anyone down.
And then Ethel body bags someone.
Right. And Ethel will. And then Ethel will chuckle and she'll use her little stabber and pick up the ball. And she'll look at her partner, you know, Lucille, and then she'll be like, fights on, you know? And you're like, God, I'm going to take these women down. But I do think, I don't know that a lot of people are trying to leverage it and monetize it in a way with pickleball, the pickleball channel and those things. I hope that works for all those people invested. What I would say is your best bet, if you're going to televise pickleball, is you better at these events have about 12 courts open for people who are also coming to want to play, who are just mediocre folks who want to play pickleball, you know, and it's social and it's fun. And I do play, and I'll tell you what, it's changed the nature of my work.
Say that.
In a way that tennis never did.
Say more.
Well, I'm a better pickleball player, first of all, than I ever was a tennis player. I was a strong baseline player. I had a good forehand. I had an interesting I grew up with a poster of Bjorn Borg in my bedroom.
He's the coolest guy ever. Coolest guy ever.
I mean, smoking hot with the little bandana and the even smaller shorts.
He's the guy that, like, you know, when there's like our friend, there are certain people that can walk into a room full of like Lin-Manuel Miranda walks into a room full of famous people and people go, oh
yeah, no, that's it.
Bjorn Borg walks into a room full of tennis people and people go, oh.
Do they really?
Oh yeah, still. Yeah, like John McEnroe can't talk about it. John McEnroe hates everything. And Bjorn Borg walks into the room and he's like, like he turns into like Beavis when
I don't know why
when Bjorn Borg walks in.
He was but
so cool.
You know, I came up for like, I didn't even learn a two-hand backhand until high school. And then because no one was really hitting it.
Yeah.
And so then Chris Evert kind of started, and then we started doing it. I still don't hit one because you have to be faster. I was a mediocre tennis player. I'm a pretty good pickleball player. And like I'm setting my sights. I'm gonna be like a 4-5.
What is that? What context? What does that mean? Is that like you're the best player at your club?
I'm gonna take out Ethel and Lucille for sure. Just because I'm gonna be able to move them a lot, and they're gonna.
And
fall.
is it acceptable in the game of Ethel and Lucille if Ethel has a hard time bending down to get is it like if you take the court, I can expose your bad hip? Or can you be really like, how mean does it get? Like you were talking about, like you're literally saying you're going to kick someone's ass who you just told me has a poker to pick up the ball.
I mean, here's what, I think it depends on who you ask and how bad you want it.
And then also the next part of this conversation is going to be about empathy.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? Play down with them and they'll find it insulting. Where I draw.
I mean, I'm not judging. I would do it.
Yeah,
I'm saying if you take the court,
depends.
let's sweep Ethel's leg. But I you know.
Oh
I'm
my
fine.
God, you're Cobra Khan. Okay, that's
I'm fine
terrible.
With it. Yeah, but if we're not breaking rules, Ethel's hip is Ethel's hip.
I mean, the way you'd win against them.
Yeah. Don't give away your secrets, by the way.
Now you would lob them, and that's tragic. Because you'd lob to the baseline, they'd never get back there in time.
Do you do that? Be real.
It depends on what's at stake.
Yeah. Sorry, 4-5, 4-6.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I can hold my own on a court. And so if we go stack paddles for open play, I'm gonna stack at the top of the group.
Got it.
Yeah.
Support for Served comes from Intuit. When it comes to small business marketing, reaching the right audience starts with the right data. Intuit SMB Media Labs is a first-of-its-kind small business ad network that helps your marketing work smarter. By leveraging exclusive audiences and insights from the makers of QuickBooks, you can connect with the right customers efficiently and effectively. With an audience scale of 36 million, Intuit SMB Media Labs puts your brand in front of small businesses that need you the most, targeting key decision makers by industry, size, maturity, and location. More than just an audience, it's your SMB media partner. Learn more at medialabs.intuit.com. Support for this show comes from Smartsheet. You know that feeling you get when you're so into a task that the world around you goes quiet? Maybe you're out for a run and start to feel like you're flying. Or maybe you're playing guitar and an hour zip by. Or maybe you're so focused on a work task that you forget it's actually work. This time-stopping, world-quieting, focused feeling is called flow. In today's workplace, that state of flow is very hard to come by. There are all those different applications you have to toggle between, calls that could have been emails, and no one central place where you can tackle all your tasks. Except there is such a place, Smartsheet. Smartsheet is the work management platform where work progresses smoothly and efficiently, enabling teams to operate at their peak. Smartsheet isn't just a tool, it's a place where teams can operate in a state of flow, no matter the scale or complexity of their work. Let time stop. Let the world fall away. Smartsheet can handle the rest. Smartsheet, where work flows. Visit smartsheet.com today to learn more.
But we were just talking. Is this wait, we should ask the audience if this is an inside term.
Oh, okay. Show of hands. If or someone just shout out the answer if you know, Dylan, you're not allowed because you're a test worker. So Brene was saying I was playing pickleball and I was treeing. Does anyone know what that means? Yes. Okay, but are you a tennis person? Yes. Or a pickle person? Yes. Does anyone who's not a tennis person know the term treeing? No. I was right against Brene Brown. Yeah, inside baseball. It made me happy because I knew it was inside baseball. Felt like I was speaking the language.
I'll tell you what happened. So I called my pickleball coach and I was like, I have frickin' arrived. My drops are on. This is happening. I'm here. And she said, I just played with you like 2 days ago. And I'm like, no, something happened. It must be clicking. She goes, I think you're treeing. And I was like, no, man, come on. That is so mean. And so treeing is, I would describe it as a time limited amount of, for a limited time in the world, you're playing above your skill set. And this shit will reconcile in the worst ways when you least expect it. How would you describe it?
I can't wait for that to be the 88th thing in the next Atlas of the Heart. The treeing chapter. Yeah, it's basically, I told her.
This is horrible. This will show you who he is. Tell the story.
I'm admitting I would take Ethel out. I've already said, like, I'm playing to the hip. I'm doing all the things. This is horrible. This is going to be surprising to no one in this room. But I was saying, a lot of times you would go out and play a match against someone. If I was ranked, high, top 3, 4 at the time, and you're playing someone 80 who's like really good, everyone in the tournament or Grand Slam is a professional, everyone's able to elevate and play. But in an extended format, 3 out of 5, I have said at certain points when you're walking past, like underneath your towel, because you don't want the cameras to catch your lips, I think you're playing above yourself right now, and I have the next 3.5 hours to figure out if I'm right.
Do y'all understand the depth of cruelty in that statement? Because you can't, man.
You were lobbing Lucille.
But it's sweeter in pickleball. Okay. Lucille and I have an understanding that we'll take, we have a shared hatred of the team. No, just kidding, no.
We're unified.
Yeah, we're unified. No, but it's true. You can't maintain playing above your skill level. But this is true in life. You're going to see treeing in the next book. You heard it here first.
Wait.
Because you can't, let me ask a different question. Analogies and metaphors, I love them. How many of you have ever been like, screw it, I'm not going to study for this test, and you went in and nailed it, right? You just happened to nail it. You just scantroned out, and you're like, oh, yeah. And then you think, I'm going to do that next time, too. And then it doesn't go as well. Yeah, it's like this. You can't maintain that. Time is your enemy in the tree, right?
Yeah, I think, bad decision making can work as long as the sample size is small enough. And I think that
oh my God, I love that.
The
get a t-shirt.
The bigger the sample size, it's tougher to lie to, I think, right?
Yeah, for 3 hours, I'm not going to stay good.
Yeah, but sometimes you found out if that person was actually treeing or if that was just their new base setting. I think it's your new base setting. I think you need to be more optimistic and stay away from the term treeing because that makes it sound like it's temporary, Brene.
So this is good advice because you know what you're speaking to?
Nope.
I think you do actually. This is game theory, and I'm studying this a lot right now. I'm studying CEOs and leaders during this massive volatility, shifts in the market, new competitive stuff, willy tariff, willy not tariff. What it looks like at a leadership level to play to win versus to play not to lose. And it's really interesting if you look at the research in game theory on what happens when you play to not lose. I'll just go on record here. You can send the hate mail directly to Andy. I think that we saw the Chiefs in that position at the Super Bowl. The playing not to lose. But one of the biggest pieces that we're learning in the playing not to lose versus playing to win is negative contagion.
Explain that.
Negative contagion. So if I took a microphone to the field, to the pitch, to the bench in tennis, and I listened to what a team playing to win, the words they used, the emotional words they used, how they spoke to each other and themselves. In a play to win team, it would be a completely different language than a play not to lose team. So the negative contagion, and you think it's synonymous, like someone who doesn't understand it wouldn't get it. But if you're, this is our house. We cannot let them in. We cannot do this. We have, it is different than we will win. This is the strategy. It's like the classic research when you tell pilots to avoid an obstacle in simulated flight, they hit it. Mm-hmm. So it's about what we can do. It's not focus on winning, focus on your next strike or your next hit or whatever sport you're in. And so the negative contagion, the example that you gave, is a really subtle one that people don't talk about, even coaches and scouts, because scouts listen for it a lot when I do a lot of focus groups with scouts, because I work with a lot of professional sports teams. And so using an inside baseball term that you think has neutral meaning, but actually doesn't, is very dangerous.
Treating is temporary. It's literally a temporary term. So if you're playing well and labeling it as temporary,
that's negative contagion.
Like you're basically taking away the option of progress, right?
Right. That's negative contagion. And now you're in a Faustian bargain with the devil that you only have so many sets or games to really exercise this thing. And so it's so interesting that you say that, because sometimes we give inside baseball terms a pass on valence, whether they're negative or positive contagion.
So I have this further down, and I think this is somewhat in the realm of that. And I've talked about it on our show with producer Mike before. When I was in my last year on tour and I would win a smaller event, one that I had won a bunch of times before, not a slam, not something that changes any sort of career. No one's going to remember it. I would win, and my first emotion was relief and not elation. And I think that's the difference. And I think you brought up the Chiefs. I think expectation dictates a lot of that, right? Like
you have to it's
protecting
harsh.
versus actually hunting, I think, is a very, very different mindset. And I'm not sure that you can I couldn't trick myself into saying, this tournament in Atlanta at the beginning of summer, while a professional tennis tournament in my pragmatic mind can go, this is a great accomplishment. This is like you're a professional and you win a professional event. That's fantastic. Also, I knew, and this was the overriding feeling, it actually changed nothing besides like maybe that day and not being mad at myself. It was relief and not elation. And I got to sit down with Roger Federer, who I spent a decade, for people who don't know my history and are only here to see Brene, I lost to him for a decade in all of the things. And he said something, I love Roger. He's a dear friend. I'm not jealous of his successes. I'm jealous of his ease of operation, right? You see him on the practice court, he's relaxed. You see him dealing with everything he has to deal with, and it's relaxed. It's kind of centered. It seems, even his off days, you can't really tell, and it's calm. Whereas I'm like, yelling, screaming, I kind of had to operate on high, or maybe didn't learn how not to. And he answered a question for me. It was the first time I was like truly jealous and maybe a little bit mad at him. I said, at the time, this is like 2014, I said, everyone who's considered the greatest in their sport, which he was definitely at that time, is like the Michael Jordan, I'll do anything to win. The Kobe Bryant, I'll do anything to win. The Gretzky thing, Jordan broke a teammate's nose in practice. And I go, no one defines you like that. It's all artistry and it's all calm and it's, ice and not fire. And I said, where does that come from? And he goes, he goes, I truly just enjoy winning more than I hate losing. And I had no idea what he was talking about.
Wow.
I had no idea how to even make that real in my mind. Like I'm like, I go, that's a real thing for you? He goes, yeah. He goes, when I win, I feel like wake up happy 3 days later. And when I lose, it's like, it's out the door 3 days later. I'm like, I'm complete opposite. Complete opposite. That's probably why he's him and I'm me. It's like,
I'm having so many research epiphanies. I'm like, y'all talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to go get my paper.
I'm glad you're having a moment with it too, because obviously
I'm having
me as someone who's much dumber, I couldn't process it and I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, I have to tell you, just for the record, since we're on the podcast and I don't know if I'll ever run into you again.
We're gonna do the pickle member guest against Ethel.
Oh, let's go.
Let's do it.
I love and appreciate your self-deprecation. I don't buy it at all. But I have to say that, like, you are one of the most strategic depth thinkers about the game and about the topics you tackle that I've ever heard talk about the topic, which is why I'm here today, because I've listened to you and I think that about you.
Thank you. And
Okay. Careful, because now we're in my territory and I'll whip your ass.
Yeah.
So I will say your self-deprecation is funny, and I have that same thing. But I will say that I'm not trying to figure out and run for my pad about what Federer said. I'm trying to make sense of something you said that I've never, and let me tell you, like, I do a lot of research and I like from professional sports teams, special forces, military. I've never heard anyone talk about it the way you just talked about it, which was, what did you say?
Relief versus elation.
That's it. Relief, but you paired it with something that was really nuts.
Elation.
What relief and elation, I have a lot of questions about that.
I thought I was doing the questions and you were doing the answering. I can't answer any of that stuff.
But I'm having a research moment.
Yeah.
And then also hunter and hunted.
Oh, you're trying to protect something as opposed to hunt something.
Yeah, and I'm taken back to an F1 moment when we saw Red Bull falling out and McLaren coming up. And Brown's comment about the shift for the first time around being the hunted, being preferable to being the hunter. Let me ask you something about sports psychology.
Oof.
I mean, just think about this for a minute. I would only find sweet relief in being the hunted for 15 seconds. Help me understand what you said about relief and elation.
When you're 19 and you beat, so example, I'm 150 in the world. I play my idol, Pete Sampras, first time on an ESPN match. He's ranked 2 in the world at the time. I win that match. I'm elated. It's the first time I've done it. I get to say forever that I beat this person who, hangs the moon for me. Elation. Fast forward to where you get into a situation that I was in most of my career where it's like Grand Slam again or bust, or it's like it's a Grand Slam or not Grand Slam. So the psychology of that, where it's like you don't take the first tournament I won, that was the level of Atlanta, the one I was referring to, which was also the last one I won. The first time you win that, it's like, oh, it's all ahead of me. It's a very different thing as opposed to like, I'm trying to hang on. I won this thing, but question's still there. can I win a slam? The answer ended up being no, but just the way it's framed is very different. So you can have the same accomplishment, but separated by time, expectation, and experience. It's a very different feeling, even though it's the same accomplishment.
So this, like, in this interesting? Yeah. So let me ask you this. Sorry, I'm working.
I have a whole bunch of questions about you.
Okay, I know, but like this is so interesting. You have a son and a daughter. Your daughter has her Pete Sampras moment. She's elated.
Yeah.
She has her Atlanta win, and she's just mildly relieved. What do you say to her? Probably not right after the game, but what do you say to her to help her understand that emotional choice?
I would say something about, so I enjoyed the process of work training.
Yeah.
Like when I retired from tennis, the only thing I missed was being at a track at 7:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And being the last person there. It's how I defined word. There was I love this idea of there's someone out there somewhere doing something who might outwork you today. And then that being the driver and the motivator. But then when the results, I was less kind of result oriented. I liked the work, but then at a certain point, all the work was for this thing. Even if I felt good, I probably put too much stock in outside expectations as opposed to the process of work, joy, and being happy that you did this and it resulted in this, right? Because it wasn't the question. The question was, you lose the Wimbledon final for the third time, and it's like, why can't you win Wimbledon? And so that takes a lot of joy for the smaller moments. I still enjoyed the work because there wasn't that question at the end of a workout or a day. It was like the process to it. And then, but at a certain point in your career, I was actually going to ask you this also because I read your thing about cognitive dissonance, right? Where you wrote this chapter about it in Atlas of the Heart, and I kind of had this thing. I was like, yeah, people use it in a way, and I don't like it, and it's this whole we're seeing it more and more. And then I also went, oh, but I did it all the time because I knew I wasn't as good as I was. But if you would have asked me, I would have given you some reason why I was just around the corner from being that former version. Like I would have somehow made two things that are in complete conflict make sense in my mind. And as athletes, I think we do that. I think we kind of live in denial. There's no chance that if you asked, and I'm not saying he is because he's, already one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but it's going to be a low moment for an offseason compared to what like a Patrick Mahomes is used to. And if you asked him today, are you absolutely positive that your best days are ahead of you? He would go, no questions asked, absolutely, which can't be a certainty, right? It just can't be. But it's weird. I would read things that you've written, that you've said in your Netflix special, and I'm like, yeah, I don't really like that. And I'm like, I did that all the time, and I kind of use these things, and that's how I actually lived for like a decade plus.
I think we have to resolve the tension of those things because I think, first of all, we're neurobiologically hardwired to resolve those things immediately. I do this. I know it's not good for me. So, so the way I resolve that is fuck it. Right. Or, yeah. Or, or the Patrick Mahomes we can only make up. But one of the things I think you're talking about, which is really interesting because it doesn't just apply to folks, to researchers or folks who are at your level in a game. Like one thing that I appreciated about you, watching you the whole time you were playing, and I think actually you had this in common with Federer and Nadal, but not with as many players as I see today. You were a very humble student of the game, in my opinion. Like I never saw you act like there was nothing about the game that you already knew. Like you
oh my
knew,
goodness!
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. And I promise you, it's right here. So I promise you.
We're vibing, folks.
This is it. And it actually is a quote that you said in your Netflix special. If you're not in the arena getting your ass kicked, I'm not interested in your opinion about my work. And then the whole thing, I want to get your thoughts on basically talking clowns in media who aren't in the arena, what fallout that has, how does that shape the narrative, but also the number one thing that bothers me with coverage, right? If people are talking about it, and it's kind of what you're alluding to, is I can criticize someone I see based on a tactical adjustment I think they should be making, based on work I don't think they're putting in. But the one thing I would love to see is whether it's sports commentary or one of the 17 shows on ESPN that they run where it's just two people arguing, mostly just about the Cowboys, which they run in a loop for 12 hours a day, it drives me nuts when people have their criticisms, haven't been in the arena, but then also pretend like it's easy.
Oh God,
that's my number one thing.
Can we agree on that? Like, yeah, I don't even care what you're talking. Like, oh yeah, oh man.
So like I work with on our show. I work with John Wertheim, who's a 60 Minutes journalist, started in tennis, and very knowledgeable about the game. But one of the things I like about John is that he can have an opinion, say that, oh, this person's had a bad run of form, they're struggling with this, but it's never flippant, it's never dismissive. It's normally followed with a question of like, how do you go through the process of improving that specific thing? But like the flip, that guy stinks, he can't make a bet. I'm like, but you don't know if it's easy or not. There's been no connectivity. Like I can't imagine walking into any of your jobs and telling you how easy it is while knowing nothing about it. I can't imagine it. But
just for one day, like the purge.
But whether it's sports or politics, whatever it is, it's an accepted practice for people who don't actually do it. Like imagine if I don't do your job, I don't know much about it, but I watched a clip of it for 5 minutes and then I can come in and tell you suck at it. That's an amazing thing that we kind of accept, but if you apply it to other parts of life, it seems insane.
No, okay. Yeah.
Give me something.
I'm trying not to be hateful. It's not going to work.
You gave it a chance. You took a beat.
I did. They're not students of the game. They're students of their own voice. They're students of their own popularity. And we've got algorithms in social media that are set to, it's the worst of us as people. But everything you're saying is thematically aligned, Andy, in a way that is so important that I hope that you see too, which is when we focus on the outcome and not the effort and the work and the mastery that we're trying to develop and what really brings us joy, things get very empty very fast. When the commentators focus on the outcome and not the mastery and not the skills. I mean, anyone who has coached an athlete for more than 30 minutes will tell you if someone's got the yips on their serve or someone is missing the ball in water polo or doing, the first thing they're going to say is you're going back to basic skills. Stop thinking about the game. Start thinking about your footwork. Start thinking about where your grip is. Start thinking about ball, and the same is true in our jobs. Unfortunately, I study leadership, and leaders are the only people that have to perform at very high levels that have no real coaching. We have a societal, we're having a crash out around hard work and discomfort.
Say more.
It's like...
Say what you just said again.
We're having like a collective crash out around hard work and mastery and skill development. We want things to be easy, fast, free. We don't want to hear the commentator talk about that micro skill. I mean, do you think?
Well, then our podcast is going under, Mike. I'll tell you that much right now. We're screwed.
Well, are you doing your podcast because you want to be like everybody else, or you want to be a counter to the bullshit and the horse shit that is out there?
I haven't thought about that. We do it in our basement. I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Yes. But you're trying to do something different. I don't believe that. I believe you're trying to put something different.
It's a gym, and then one's a garage. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's different, and that's why people listen to it, because I think what is happening then, and you look at I'm connecting like dots at a million miles an hour, so I'm going to get 70% of it wrong. But what I'm curious about, not what I know, is I'm curious when I'm looking at the new data talking about the rate at which Gen Z is getting fired from the corporate sector. And I'm looking at a generation where the connection between the hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and months and days and bandages and Advil from the court connects to that serve. When we skip all that, and then you've got young people just seeing outcome focus. I'm here. I'd like $125,000 in a plasma TV. I don't travel. That's bad and triggering. Like, what, and we blame Gen Z. I raised them. We raised them. They're smart as hell. They're committed. They're social justice focused. God bless you right now. But this connection between skills building and effort and the joy that no one talks about in that. Where am I the happiest? I don't want you to not buy my book. I think my agent's here, but buy the book. But the list from the New York Times is not my happiest moment. I don't even pin very much on that, to be honest with you. My happiest moment is literally, I'm going to get in the car right now and I'm going to go back to my house and I'll be there in 20 minutes and I'll write 40 pages of notes from our conversation and I'll start making connections, and nothing is exciting to that outside of being with my family. Like, that's what's my craft is what's joyful to me. And we forget about that work.
Support for this show comes from Smartsheet. You know that look the basketball player gets as they step up to the free throw line, or the rock star right before they belt out the high note, or maybe even your dog as she gnaws through your favorite sneaker. That all-encompassing, nothing else matters, right here, right now feeling has a name. It's called flow. But you don't have to be a professional athlete or a musician or a happy dog to experience flow. You can access a focused flow state in everything you do, and Smartsheet is here to help you do just that. Smartsheet is the work management platform that helps remove friction and distractions, allowing your team to seamlessly take the shot, sing the high note, or complete the big project. Smartsheet's innovative platform transforms the way teams operate, helping them automate workflows and cut through the chaos of whatever they're working on. No matter the task at hand, that feeling of flow is at your fingertips when you use Smartsheet. Smartsheet, the place where work flows. Learn more at smartsheet.com/Fox.
I actually invoke your name sometimes on the pickleball court.
On the pickleball court.
Sorry, you're slumming. You're with the drunk uncles.
The drunkles.
Ethel, the drunkles.
The drunkles.
No, but that one of my this is the commentator bullshit that we're talking about. I only have a handful of tennis commentators that I can take. Sometimes when I'm in a bad place in a game, and I've got a decent serve, and I've got a drop serve, which is like not what the fancy people do, but I can put a lot of top spin on it. I look at my competitor and I'm like, I'm going to Andy Roddick this shit right now. Because you had, and probably still have, I haven't seen you play in a long time, a stone cold, cruel service motion. You don't bounce. You don't look around. You don't do a lot of shit. You just serve the ball. And it is awful. I mean, it is so scary to be on the other side of that. Well, wait, wasn't there a game where you aced like 6 times in a row?
Yeah, but
No. You gotta save that for like, I don't know who falls for this shit, but like, who were you playing? Because it was someone who was good on the service return.
this is making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's what I do.
It was Leighton Hewitt, I think.
Right.
It was
Wait.
best competitor I ever played against on
Like
record.
Leighton Hewitt.
Yeah.
How many of you understand Leighton Hewitt's power on the service return? Like, I mean, like,
nasty.
Nasty. How many balls did you get by him in a row?
6. I lost that match. True story.
Give me your zip code, and I'm going to find someone for you to see.
Okay.
Because I am connected to therapists and coaches all over. No, okay, wait.
Sound like my wife.
What is it? I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. Was it 6 or 7?
It was 6, maybe. I don't know.
6?
I don't know.
Do you remember? Have you ever watched film on that with the commentators? I have an assignment for all of you listeners to this podcast. I want you to Google that shit. Go on YouTube. And this, I think, were they British? Do you remember? Does anybody remember? Were they British?
It was the Aussie Open, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're great.
It was.
You can't see my nonverbals. But it was like, ace. Oh, wait. And I think it spread between games, the 6.
Maybe.
Could you imagine?
You remember this, but I don't
Okay, wait.
like remember.
Wait, y'all need to watch it.
No.
But the commentators were like, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and that
like,
and then that
okay.
was as high as they could count. So that was,
I mean,
it was.
literally, there was nothing. There was no connection between what we were watching, which I think may have been tennis history. I know you're uncomfortable. I can tell in your body language.
Yeah.
Like shake it loose, like whatever,
Yeah.
Go back to the baseline. Think about your grip. But yeah, it was history. It was history.
I don't think it was. I think Sam Querrey did it like 10, like a year later.
For someone who doesn't know what I'm talking about, you got your rebuttal right here.
No, because
that prefrontal cortex.
I just wanted to flex the muscle of I know that 10 is more than 6. Like it was just.
It was history and it was amazing.
No.
But what an opportunity for the people calling the game to talk about what it means to get 6 serves past. Would you agree that he was one of the best service returners in the game?
Yeah,
at
in the
time?
history of the game for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, ever.
Right.
Not at the time.
Okay.
Ever.
So ergo.
Super annoying.
Ergo,
Yeah.
to ace him 6 times was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
But man, stone cold on the service motion.
Mm-hmm.
Was that calculated?
No. I'll tell you. You want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Okay. So my motion is very weird. I jump off of 2 feet for not tennis people. Most people take a racket down like this, and it's like everyone you've seen. I just went straight up and then just hit it like violence. I was losing to a friend of mine in high school named Marty Fish, who was a very good tennis player, got up to 6 in the world.
Hey, Marty.
Yeah. And losing. And I used to have a normal motion, and as much thought as we put into everything and, the result, and it comes from a million moments of hard work. He was beating me. I got pissed, walked up, hit the serve as hard as I could. That way, did it again. It went in, did it again. And that was that. It was blind luck.
That became your motion?
That was it. Never served a different way.
Fueled by nothing but rage.
Rage.
Let's go.
So
LFG, I love it.
That's a true story, though. True story,
Emotion is the main character in that story.
Yeah, it was. But that's so not surprising that it looks mean because it was born out of a place that was full of rage.
Explain to me the flat hand.
I don't know what that means.
in your service motion.
So I've told producer Mike this a million times. If you told me I had to teach someone technique about anything, my thing was all about like feeling and simplicity. Can you repeat it? Can you repeat it 100 times in a row? I don't really care how it looks. Actually, we interviewed Rafa 2 days ago, who's
so cool,
sharing the week on Served with you. I hope you don't mind. That episode's out tomorrow, and this will run.
If I have to share a week.
But I actually think we kind of almost coach weird things out of players. So like Johnny Mack, if you would have tried to teach him how to volley normally, I don't know that he would have been Johnny Mack. Rafa, someone had the restraint to not try to perfect his swing when he's like, it looks like a lasso over his head.
It's nuts, yeah.
It's the single most intimidating shot I've ever seen. Like it just jumps, he changed everything. But I do think 97% of coaches would have automatically said, that doesn't look normal. We should probably change it because in the future, that's not going to work because we haven't seen it before. I honestly think that. I think it's just, if you're set, if you can repeat it, let it rip, Tater Chip. I think I think there's an overanalyzation based on what we've seen before. And now every football coach wants someone to throw like Patrick Mahomes or every player. And that's just not the way that it works.
I have to say that there's such a self lesson and a parenting lesson here.
Tell me more.
No, I think we coach. I think we parent out of the things. Like we admire people who have, like, I admire your service motion, but yet when we're at, when someone's coming up, we want to make sure this is why comparison is the thief of joy. Comparison is a very weird construct because it basically says, be like everybody else, but better. And the way that we're better often is when we're more authentic to us, to our service motion, to our way of thinking, to, I'm thinking about my son actually, who had this he was able to walk up to the board in elementary school and solve the problem of the day, like a word problem, but he wouldn't get credit for it because he wouldn't show his work in a way that the teacher liked. And then the teacher was like, you need to teach him to do math differently. I was like, fuck you, man. Who's solving the problem of the day, sis? You're the problem of the day. And so that was my defensiveness. And I was like, tell me more, because I love this teacher. And I am like pro teacher and anti-parent attacking teachers. So I got into my best self mode and I was like, I'm having a reaction to this a little bit. She goes, I get it, but it'll be a problem. What about if we let him solve it his way and then just show him how other people do it? So he'll know if he's asked, because whether we like it or not, he's in a K-8 system that's going to, And I was like, as long as it doesn't break his math spirit, then we can do it. So I think there's an important lesson there that I didn't see your rage against what's his friend? Your friend's name that you were playing?
Marty Fish.
Marty Fish.
Yeah.
I didn't see your rage against Marty Fish when you developed it. But what I see when you do it is complete conviction.
Yeah, that was the only shot where that existed.
But I saw it.
Yeah, wow.
And I loved it. And so usually I'm bouncing and thinking and doing other stuff, and I'm like, they're getting a stone cold Andy Roddick. You're not even gonna be ready. You should be tying your shoe, and that shit's coming because it's pickleball, and we got to go dirty.
That's it. And by the way, the other thing with pickleball coverage, just as an aside, and we have a couple of mics. We have a couple of minutes left. If anyone has a question, there's a mic in the center aisle here. There's a mic in the center aisle here. We'll do a couple of minutes. Do you think that pickleball, when it's on TV, because I just think the TV product is horrible. We've covered this already. I think the game's fun. The TV experience is bad. They go so fast. Why is everyone in such a fucking hurry? Like you try being a commentator in pickleball. You have exactly 6 seconds between, you can't, it's this game where you need to understand the nuance and they give no time to actually explain any nuance. It's like a race to the next point all the time.
I think we're in a learning curve.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think how to shoot it, how to film it, how to commentate, how to do, you know what? If I were the boss of pickleball television.
So that's what should happen, by the way.
No. Because that is not my joy place. If I were the boss of pickleball television, what I would do is, and where you'd get more viewers, is I would use the timeout to show great shots and then say, if you're 3-0 trying to get up, here's where we make this mistake. If you're 3-5, and I would use pickleball watching to address the fact that the only people watching you are people who want to be better players. You do not have a non-playing audience. You have, you know what I mean? With tennis, again, like my parents went to, even back then it was the Virginia Slims, they went to, I don't think we named tennis things after cigarettes anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's sign of the times, right?
Yeah.
Play tennis, have cigs.
I mean, that's what the Fila folks did.
That's what Fila folks did.
I say Fila just because I was broke in high school, man. I drove a Ford F-150, 3 on the tree, 1970. And my friends used to play at one place where you couldn't get in unless you had all whites on. And I was like, one day I'm going to babysit so goddamn much. I'm going to buy a Fila tennis skirt in white.
Because it's your boy Borg. Was it
boy Borg.
Was a Fila guy?
I mean, I can see the patch on the short shorts. Yeah.
All right. Please tell us your name and what's your question?
Yeah. Hi, my name's Angela. I'm from Boston. Also, you mentioned earlier tennis posters. The Got Milk poster still lives in my mom's basement. So thank you. Just had to mention that.
He loves it.
My question's about equality. Andy, I know you've been a big advocate for equality and for the women's game. So just wondering if you can speak a little bit about what more can be done to kind of bridge that gap and ensure that recent progress is sustainable for the long term.
Yeah. So before commenting, I do want to say, as a tennis player, I'm proud of what we've done. We've been on the leading curve of it forever. And we've had leaders like Billie Jean King and Arthur. We're, as much as we get called Fila people, we're on the front lines. And whether it's social justice, whether it's nonprofits,
Martina,
whether it's Martina, whether it's so I think a continuation of culture in tennis is what's needed. I think we need to celebrate what we've done, who we are, and how we've actually led the way. We rarely react to something after someone else has done it in tennis. And it's weird because it gets kind of boxed in as this country club sport, but then you look at all of our champions and, Andre's dad was, immigrant from Iran, and Venus and Serena came out of Compton, and it's just not that way at the pro level. And, Rafa doesn't wear Fila. He doesn't even wear sleeves. So I think a continuation. I think you have more and more every year. You have mixed events where you can watch men's and women's tennis. It's only growing every year. I don't know that number will ever subtract again because it's in everyone's best interest. So at this point, I think we need to pay attention to it, but it's largely a problem that doesn't need to be solved in tennis, or needs to be solved a lot less. And I'm pretty proud of that.
Thank you.
Hey guys. Great to be here with you both today. I'm going to talk to you for a second about my friend Chris. Chris passed away in a ski accident a week ago, and his funeral was yesterday. I went to the funeral and hopped on a flight here. The reason that I'm talking to you about Chris is because he is the reason that I found pickleball. And I was a month sober when he came into my life, and he brought me into the pickleball courts every single day. And he showed me this game that lit up a part of my heart that I didn't know was possible. I'm 7 months sober, and thanks. There is a pickleball session that happens every day here, and I can't bring myself to play. And I know he would die if I was standing. Well, God, what a terrible joke. Oh my God. Sorry, Chris.
If he's a pickleball player, he might think that's funny.
No, he will. He does. Will you play a game with me sometime this week, Brene?
Oh,
Can you walk with me on the court and can you play with me? I cannot say I will not win because I probably will beat your ass.
what an invitation. She speaks directly to my heart.
Are you free this week?
This is my last day here.
Okay. That's okay.
I wish we had a paddle and some balls because I'd kick it up with you in the hall right now.
It's totally
you got
fine.
paddles on you?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Anybody have paddles or ball on you?
That's okay. Well, maybe sometime
We'll
one of
find
these
time,
days.
but I think I appreciate. First of all, I'll have 28 years sober in
That's
May.
awesome. Wow.
I don't think my sobriety and my competitive nature and my love of sport are separate in any way.
Yeah.
You know, get on the court, stay on the court, do stuff you love, find your joy. And I'm sorry about Chris.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I know
Can I-
that wasn't really a question.
Can I tell you one thing real
Yeah,
quick, just
absolutely.
from personal experience? It's not pickleball, but it was tennis. My father passed a while ago suddenly, a while ago now. The first time I actually felt kind of a moment of peace and levity was the first time I had to go do an event and play in a tennis event was during that event, because I realized that it was the first time he wasn't watching, but that I could still do it and enjoy this thing. And just because he enjoyed it didn't mean that I couldn't enjoy it.
Wow. That's so powerful.
That's
Thank you
beautiful.
so much.
Hi, thanks Brene and Andy for the amazing discussion so far. My name is Akash, I'm from New Zealand. I had a question for both of you. You mentioned treeing earlier and
It started here, y'all. It's going viral.
my question is, regardless of your field or domain of expertise, how do you identify whether you're treeing or whether that is your new baseline performance, right? Like, is continued success the only measure, or is there other markers or identifiers to say that, hey, like I'm at that level now?
Scale. I think when Brene thought after a day that this was the new normal, I think maybe you rushed that decision just a touch. But I think when she does that more often and as a week into it, I think there's probably cause for a little bit more faith of that being the new floor. Right. I think scale.
I
Doing
think
it
scale
more.
is true. And I think for me, if you could make sense of this, like from your experience too, I was hitting shots that I knew I had put no work into gaining. So a drop shot's really important in pickleball because it moves everybody up. I was hitting them and never could before and had not drilled or practiced it once. It was a heartbreaker, I'll tell you.
But that could have been just
That's actually like, but it's weird because if you hadn't been hitting those shots before, you basically proved that you could. You just hadn't gotten to the point where you like would, right? Like you showed yourself that your body is capable of actually hitting those shots, right? Like I look at Rafa and I can't create the spin that, not once in my life have I created the spin that he does off of it, right? So you actually know you can do it. Now it's just a matter of owning it and not leasing it.
That's true. Part of treeing must be mental because I could hit those shots. I was always scared to hit them before because if you get that wrong, you're going to eat the wiffle ball. Yeah.
Body bag.
Body bag.
Body
Ethel.
bag.
amazing. Thank you.
Cheers. We'll do two more and then because the clock's at 0 and I don't know where Brene has to be next. So we'll get two more questions.
Awesome. My name's Rod, and my Kiwi friend almost stole the treeing thunder, but I'm the the treeing tennis guy that shouted out over here.
Oh, yeah.
And I've started only playing tennis competitively in my 40s. And when you Google like playing tennis later in life, it's almost always, well, you were really good in your 20s and now you're not. I'm like, no, I'm actually getting better because I've never been good. I'm looking at two people on the stage. Andy, you are never going to be as good as you were, but Brene, you can be a better pickleball player than you've ever been. But I want to know what Andy's getting better at as he gets older. And Brene, how important is it as we grow older to be progressing and finding these new ways of improving ourselves?
Well, it's just my baseline for getting better isn't based upon 20 years. It's based upon like 2 years. And I think that's possible. So I didn't play tennis for a long time after I retired. It was probably 8-10 years where I would play once every 6 months. And that experience was miserable to me because I could still see it the same way, but my body didn't react the same way to what you're saying. If you don't put in the work, you're nuts for having any sort of expectation. I was nuts because I still had the expectation. I will tell you, in the last 2 years, I play 3 times a week, and it's probably because I don't have to play in anything. There's no consequence to any game beyond just talking shit with your friends. I think I enjoy it more now than I have at any point in my entire life. And I now play like all the time, 3 or 4 times a week. So I think it's just a different thing. I'm better than I was 3 years ago, which, feels like progress. And I'm, 42 and, I was, 21. I don't know that I make that comparison, but it's kind of like little wins.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the answer to my part of the question is everything Andy just said. Little wins stop being important when we die. And having a skill challenge that's right outside of grasp, we should stop having those when we die. So until we die, we should be in the pursuit of mastery of something that's right outside our grasp up until that last day.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ninka. I'm from the University in Holland in the Netherlands. I have a question. You were talking about how students these days are focused on the outcome. And you mentioned research show that they're not doing too well in the workforce. And I was wondering, what would your advice be for students who have really trouble dealing with adversity in lives? And what would your advice be for us teachers to help these students deal with it?
Dealing with what was...
adversities in life.
Adversities in life. Yeah. Normalize adversity. Help people understand that wherever the mythology came from that says this is supposed to be comfortable was absolute bullshit. It's not supposed to be comfortable, and we're not supposed to be happy. This is supposed to be tough, and things are supposed to be meaningful with moments of joy that we are very grateful for. So to me, you got to choose courage over comfort, and you got to understand that if it's worth something, it's going to be uncomfortable. That's where meaning comes from. That's where mastery, training, whatever it is that you're going to want to do. You can be the best at anything, but if you don't have that internal thing that I think I've never heard anyone explain as well as Andy did during this podcast, if you don't have that internal thing and you're not clear that your indicator light for joy is that internal thing, it's an empty pursuit.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brene Brown.
Thank y'all. Andy Roddick.
Thanks for listening to Serve. Support for Served comes from Intuit. Reaching the right small businesses starts with the right data. Intuit SMB Media Labs is a first-of-its-kind small business ad network. With access to audiences and insights from the makers of QuickBooks, you can target key decision makers by industry, size, maturity, location, and more. It's your gateway to B2 SMB marketing success. Learn more at medialabs.intuit.com. Thanks to Smartsheet for their support. Blockers, friction, and distractions destroy human potential, and yet, the workplace is full of them. Smartsheet is designed to remove friction and allow work to flow. Its innovative platform is designed to align with diverse work styles rather than forcing teams to adapt to inflexible systems. Whether your team is managing projects or scaling operations, Smartsheet gives you the tools to cut through the chaos and keep work flowing. With Smartsheet, the extraordinary is just another day at work. Smartsheet, where work flows. Visit smartsheet.com today to learn more.